Welcome back to LiveWorldSnooker.tv. The match is just about to resume. Steve Davis 3-1 down against Ben Woolaston in this, the penultimate qualifying round of the Betfred.com World Championship. We're at the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield, in the Badminton Hall to be precise, but this is more snooker than shuttlecocks. It's the biggest snooker event in the world. Everyone wants to be involved, everyone wants to have a place at the Crucible. And in order to do that, either Davis or Woolaston will need to win 2 matches from here, this one and one more, to secure their place. By the way, the winner of this will take on Dominic Dale in the final qualifying round, starting on Sunday morning. Well, Woolaston didn't want the double kiss, and I think the cue ball has poked its head out from behind the pink, and a red is on.
One.
By the way, if you're just joining us here on LiveWorldSnooker.tv today, thank you very much for watching the action, being with us for this historic first showing of the qualifying competition. Well, that shot was historic because it was historically bad, wasn't it?
Six.
Wow. The big news of the morning so far, not that awful positional shot from Davis, although that was one of the worst I think I've ever seen him play. It's the fact that Rob Milkins has made a 1-4-7 break against Zhao Guodong. 5 years on from making a 1-4-7 in the qualifiers in 2006 for the World Championship, Milkins does it again. The story here so far, well, Woolaston won the first and the third frames quite convincingly.
One.
He snatched the second frame with a brown to pink clearance after Davis had missed the brown across the ball cushion when needing only one more pot in addition. So that was 3-0 Woolaston. Davis, though, took the fourth. High break only 39. And he's yet to catch fire, the 54-year-old, who's won this World Championship 6 times, who's won 28 world ranking titles, and who was the dominant figure in the game for a decade in the 80s. And if Woolaston was overawed by the reputation of his opponent, he's not showing it.
And Woolaston, 5.
Let me just quickly give you another couple of 1-4-7 stats after the Milkins maximum a little earlier on. I think the most significant is that that was the 10th of the season, which is a record number. The previous record 9, compiled in 99-2000. It's the 11th 147 in the World Championship. But Milkins is desperately hoping that he doesn't become the 21st player in pro snooker history to make a 147 and lose the match in question. 20 players have made 147s and gone on to lose. Some more score updates for on table 2 now. Jamie Jones was 3-1 ahead of Andy Hicks. Made 140 total clearance in the 4th frame, did Jones. Since then though, Hicks has been playing some very impressive snooker. Back to 3-3. And I can tell you Anthony McGill on a very lengthy 3rd frame to take a 2-1 lead over Anthony Hamilton. By the way, included in the Hicks recovery that I just told you about, 116 break. The standard this morning across this arena has been of the very highest order. But nothing that could remotely be described as top form from Davis yet. He's had some good performances so far this season, Steve Davis. Semi-finalist in the 6th Players Tour Championship event, lost 4-3 to Ricky Walden. Runner-up in the World Seniors Championship, overcoming the likes of Tony Drago, Dean O'Kane and John Parrott, before losing to Darren Morgan for the title. And I think one of Davis's best results of the season was in the final qualifying round of the UK Championship. Defeated Andrew Higginson 6-2. Higginson, a recent semi-finalist in the Players Tour Championship Grand Final.
White.
Well, what a fluke. Oh dear. Not one of those flukes where he's going to win the frame directly from it. But of course, and it stayed out, maybe a chance for Davis. Although where the cue ball came to rest, maybe not. If you're wondering about what we're going to bring you for the rest of the day, well, the second session, beginning at 2:30, sees the start of 4 more matches. Oh, great pot from Woolaston there. Here on liveworldsnooker.tv, we're bringing you Liang Wenbo against Justin Astley. And Michael Holt against Luca Bressel, the 17-year-old Belgian, who's played so well to reach this stage, beating two very experienced campaigners in Ian McCulloch and Barry Pinches. Not just beating them convincingly. The other two matches that start out this afternoon, by the way, Nigel Bond against Cao Yupeng from China, and Shailesh Jogia up against Igor Figueiredo from Brazil. Then this evening, at 7 o'clock British time, all 6 matches currently taking place will resume and play to a finish. Well, never easy to find the gap between ball colours, but Ben Woolaston knows he should have done it there. Grazing the green, has taken pace out of the cue ball and taken it over to the left of the table. The red closest to the black will pot, but it's much more difficult than it should have been. Well, that's a smashing recovery. But what about a colour? Well, he trusted to luck with the kiss there because the blue was so fine. It was a good pot in itself, and the kiss is A-OK. Good news for Yu Delu over on table 1. He's taken a 4-1 lead over Matt Selt. Yu or Selt will take on Stephen Hendry in the final qualifying round.
28.
A match that's bound to generate an awful lot of media interest here in the UK.
29. Four.
Biggest shot of the break and of the frame coming up. Owen Woolaston equal to the task. Very nice indeed. And a lovely angle on the blue. Not into the cue ball enough. That's a shot that Judd Trump, Stephen Lee, all of those players with huge amounts of cue power play so effortlessly. As it is, Woolaston still has the blue to the yellow pocket, and he's 40 points to the good.
46.
Awkward queuing here over the two reds close together.
$47.
So the blue for Woolaston to bring up his third half century of the contest. 3-1 ahead, steaming towards 4-1 it would appear, and he's been good value for it.
$52.
Well, having made the cannon, I don't think he could have caught the reds in worse fashion than that. Unlucky. And not over the line yet. The break at 52. His lead 51 points. But 4 reds on the table, so therefore 59 left. Well, how about that for a thin cut using the rest? Lovely stuff. And now the brown will leave Davis requiring a snooker. He spotted some very good balls in this break. A red to baulk, the blue to the same baulk pocket, the thin red there with the rest.
58.
And now it's guaranteed. Ben Woolaston is going to be taking a 4-1 lead.
$65.
I think he tried a speculative double there, but it didn't matter in the slightest. And so Ben Woolaston, very good scoring from him. Started off with a half-century break in the first frame, made a 69 in the third, there a 65, potting confidently. And Steve Davis, the Grand Old Master at 54, the oldest player on the professional snooker circuit, finds himself in a heap of early trouble because he's trailing by 4 frames to 1. There you can see the other matches going on at the moment. I can tell you, on table number 2, Andy Hicks has just taken a 4-3 lead over Jamie Jones. He's won the last 3 frames very quickly indeed, quite clearly in something of a groove. Zhao Guodong leads Rob Milkins 3-2. Milkins won the 3rd frame to take a 2-1 lead with a 1-4-7 break. Zhao, though, undeterred. Gerard Green led James Wattenaar 3-1 at the mid-session interval, but the tie, the former world match play champion and ranking event winner, he won frame 5 to hang in there. And the last table to reach its mid-session interval, Anthony Hamilton and Anthony McGill. Surprising that when you consider the first 2 frames were won with centuries, one by each player. The 3rd frame, though, was a lengthy affair, won by McGill to take a 2-1 lead, but Hamilton has just won the 4th.
Frame 6. Ben Woolaston to beat.
So Ben Woolaston is now at the stage where, if he wins one of the next 4 frames, he's guaranteed a lead going into this evening's closing session. And having built a 4-1 lead, I think he wants a little more than that. took on the plant, didn't threaten the pocket, and a red has been left. Davis, not there. Just doesn't look good, doesn't look sharp.
Point.
Of course, Davis is guaranteed to be at the Crucible for all 17 days in his role as a BBC commentator, analyst, general sage. But he would dearly love to postpone his stint behind the microphone,
Woolaston, point.
as he did a couple of years ago when, against all expectations, he reached the quarterfinals. The one thing that Woolaston mustn't do, and I'm sure he won't, is drop his guard. Davis well capable of turning this around. Everyone remembers when he was trailing 8-4 against Ronnie O'Sullivan in the final of the Masters, and then suddenly found an extra gear and won the closing 6 frames.
Point. Davis, point.
Well, already for Davis, and this is extremely unusual, he looks dispirited. Looks disgusted with the start he's made, and with every justification.
Point. Six. Seven.
Well, he played the cannon. I don't think he played it exactly like that, but if he's on the black, he will accept it gladly. And that's the kind of thing that happens when a player is on top. He gets good fortune. The player struggling gets kicked even more. But that was loose from Woolaston. Very loose indeed. I think he anticipated a thicker contact off the first red after screwing back off the black. Instead it skimmed the red, and that's why he's out of position.
Woolaston, 14.
Well, I think he played that in such a way that the only red he could leave was the one he went for. Didn't threaten the jaws, but he hasn't really left the red. He has left this one down the left-hand side of the table, though. Oh, Steve is really struggling, isn't he? Mr. Davis is having a personal nightmare out there. We know he can turn it round, he's done it so often in the past, but right now it is an almighty struggle. Over on table 1, I can tell you Matt Selt has just won frame 6. Badly in need of that. He was 4-1 down against Udaloo. Now it's 4-2. Normally here on liveworldsnooker.tv, in a multi-table situation, we will bring you coverage of table 1 and 2. Oh, great pot again from Woolaston. That really is across the ball cushion. Normally we'll bring you coverage of tables 1 and 2, but because of the logistics here in the badminton hall, the best tables to cover are tables 3 and 4. And that was a very nice little nudge right at the end of the shot. Although I suppose you could say Woolaston deserved that after the initial red.
Seven.
Do you remember me at the start of the match saying the one thing I couldn't envisage was a runaway victory for either player? Well, now maybe I can, because Davis is playing so poorly.
Well,
the only thing that's saving him from being swamped is the fact that a certain amount of carelessness is also seeping into the game of Ben Woolaston. I don't know about you watching back home, but to me it seems as though Davis doesn't have his normal intensity for some reason.
Ben Wilson, 12.
Maybe that's me just reading something into the situation that isn't there. But normally he's a really authoritative presence at the table.
White.
Well, another super pot from Ben Woolaston there. I thought he might just catch the middle pocket bump with the cue ball, which wouldn't have been helpful. He's avoided that. 2 or 3 inches short of ideal position on the black, but if this goes in...
And Woolaston, 1. One.
Well, we keep saying, don't we? Davis has to get going.
Eight. Nine. Fourteen. 15.
The red there just making it slightly awkward for Davis to get his hand on the cushion rail. Dug into the cue ball nicely though to hold for the red, and after potting this he'll drop on the pink, which will open up the other red.
Twenty-one. Twenty-seven. 28.
Davis hits the front in a frame he badly needs to win.
Thirty-five.
I can tell you over on table 3 where Clive Everton is commentating, it's level terms again. Rob Milkins 3, Xiao Gudong 3. Xiao led 3-2, Mr. Black off its spot. Milkins stepped in with a 63 break to draw level.
Up to 6.
Well, a couple of potential problems coming up here for Davis would be quite clearly the last red on the right hand side cushion down in baulk, and also the fact that the yellow isn't on its spot. So the blue takes Davis 20 points ahead. Now, will he be tempted to maybe screw back for the black here, because that would put him 28 in front with 27 on? Can't imagine it. Just a thought. That will do very nicely indeed. Good angle on the green to stun over for the yellow into the same pocket. And he's 24 in front now. So the yellow will leave Woolaston requiring a snooker. The break goes to 53, the highest contribution from Davis in the match so far. The highest and the best.
56.
It's been very timely indeed.
$65. There is 65 and spin.
Now that was a whole lot more like it, wasn't it, from Steve Davis? A 65 break, his first substantial contribution of the contest, and with that he pulls one back. Ben Woolaston still in front, but now only by 4 frames to 2. And if Davis can win the next, it's very much game on. Okay, so while Leo Scully and the referee is re-racking the balls, let me tell you, on table 1, Udaloo leads Matt Selt 4-2. Big match that, because the winner goes through to play Stephen Hendry in the final qualifying round. Andy Hicks, a former semi-finalist at the Crucible, also been to the semi-finals of the Masters and the UK Championship. He's 4-3 up on Jamie Jones after being 3-1 down at the mid-session interval. Rob Milkins, the 1-4-7 break maker this morning. He's 3-3 with Xiao Guodong. Gerard Green 3-2 up on James Watanabe. And Anthony Hamilton is about to take a 3-2 lead over Anthony McGill. Currently on a break of 95, Hamilton. Could be his second century of the match after starting out with a 1-2-8. Have to say the standard of the snooker so far in this session has been very high indeed. I think Hamilton did make a century there of 102, but I will confirm that shortly.
Game 7.
Only we can say for certain he's retaken the lead at 3-2. I think, given what's just occurred here, this has to be the biggest frame of the match so far. Now that's snooker all over. You've just played a pretty good frame. You miss a ball and you leave nothing on it all. Now with a red over a ball pocket here, this is the perfect environment for a possible re-rack. No ball spotted yet, no advantage has been gained by either player. I think Ben Woolaston looked at Steve Davis there, but Woolaston was doing it in vain. Oh, he wasn't. No, the re-rack has been called. Well, I'm not surprised about that. Only a couple of shots each, but it was quite obvious that stalemate existed. And so the frame is going to be re-racked, as was the very first frame on the match we're streaming over on table 3 between Rob Milkins and Zhao Guodong. No point in carrying on in those circumstances. By the way, over on table 2, it looks as though Jamie Jones is going to draw level with Andy Hicks at 4 frames each. Hicks needs snookers in frame 8. And one other score update for you on table 5. It's now Gerard Green 3, James Wattenaar 3. Well, Ben Woolaston has knocked in some very good pots already in this match. And although that looked simple, it wasn't anything but. Has he covered the red with the blue?
White.
Well, not on the pink, most definitely not on the black. In fact, not on any colour.
Steve Davis, 1.
Well, the red coming back off the top cushion and double kissing was precisely what Woolaston didn't want. The first sign of fluency from Davis in the previous frame, and back at the table scoring here, although somewhat positional no man's land there.
Steve Davis, 1.
Well, I think you'll agree that so far in this match, Steve Davis has been in attacking mood. He's gone for a lot of balls that I didn't expect him to take on. I thought from the start he would try and grind down the younger opponent. Not so. As yet, anyway. What an association with the World Championship, Steve Davis. 15 times he's been involved in the quarterfinals. He's won it on 6 occasions, 8 finals, and he's been involved in some of the most famous matches ever seen at the sport's most iconic venue. For all of his success, 6 world titles and a multitude of other trophies as well, I think the match that Davis will be best remembered for isn't one he won, but one he lost, 18-17 to Dennis Taylor on the black in the 1985 final. Davis built such a substantial lead, but the underdog Taylor just kept plugging away, not playing particularly attractive snooker, but so resolute. In the end, 17-17 decided on the final ball. And watched by over 18 million television viewers in the UK, which remains an after midnight record, because the match finished at 12:19 AM. When I say it remains a record, I don't mean just for snooker, I mean for anything. Good pot. Had to be a little speculative with the position, and he's on nothing at all. Let me quickly tell you that Zhao Guodong was 3-2 up on Rob Milkins. Now though, Milkins leads 4-3. He quickly went frame number 6. And he's quickly went frame number 7. If you're a snooker fan of long-standing, you might be saying to yourself, well, aren't these World Championship qualifiers a little later than normal? Well, in that you would be correct, because they are. Normally, the World Qualifiers are played in mid-March. This final qualifying round concludes on Sunday, 6 days before the main event begins. Oh, he did not deserve it. It is the most awful fluke. That was a ridiculous pot to take on, really, wasn't it?
6.
Just ridiculously low percentage, and then he gets the fluke like that. There's no justice. And the momentum that Davis began to generate in the previous frame could well be dissipated by that immense slice of fortune for Woolaston. Yes, so the final qualifying round this year finishes 6 days before the championship itself begins. All very different from 1993. That year, the championship was an extraordinary affair because all of the players who qualified for it did so the previous September. They had around 7 months to become excited about going to the Crucible, the 16 players who got through. It was a strange old bunch of qualifiers as well for that 1993 championship. The likes of Spencer Dunn, who did precious little else in the professional game. Carl Payne. John Giles from Derby. Sean Mellish from Chesterfield. All of them gone from the professional ranks now for quite some years. But whatever occurs, they can always say, we played at the Crucible. Another qualifier that year in 1993 was Ronnie O'Sullivan. On his debut, lost 10-7 to Alan McManus. Well, I think if
27.
he'd fluked the blue there, which was a possibility at one point, Davis might have blown a gasket. It's amazing just how much snooker that Davis has played at the Crucible over the years. I mentioned earlier on that he's made 30 appearances there, involved in 84 matches. No one knows that grand old arena better than him. Thanks to the wonderful statistical work of Chris Downer, who produces a Crucible Almanac every year, we can sort of forensically delve into what Davis has done at the championship, literally point for point. He's played at 1,680 frames at the Crucible, winning 966 of them. He's made 46 century breaks there. 431 of 50 or more. He's not going to make a 50 here.
Davis, 6.
On a number of occasions so far today, he's missed balls with the rest. And right now he's just standing there hating himself. Trying to get himself motivated, get going. You might think, well, surely he's in the World Championship, that shouldn't be a problem. Well, sometimes you can be involved in the most important match and feel flat. At other times you can feel absolutely sharp and up for it, even though there's not an awful lot at stake. The blue making it really awkward for Woolaston to get through to pot of red on the left-hand side of the table. This one is more of a test. If the cue ball goes in behind the yellow here, that would be useful. Oh, not quite. Just a couple more Steve Davis statistics from the World Championship. How about the fact he scored 96,471 points at the Crucible, and he's won, in total, almost £867,000 from the event. Biggest single payday for Davis at the World Championship. 1989 when he won the title and won £105,000. The winner this year will receive £250,000. Well, Davis has been the winner of that exchange. Woolaston screwed the cue ball back into baulk. The only problem was the red followed it. Well, he's certainly got one red to the right-hand middle pocket, maybe a choice of two. Don't know whether the red just below the black goes past to the top right, whether he goes past the pink or not.
Seven. Twelve. Davis 12.
Another unforgivable mistake. One that I'm sure Woolaston can't wait to pounce on.
One.
If you've been watching this with us here on liveworldsnooker.tv from the start, I'm sure you'll agree that Davis has been strangely subdued. Made lots of mistakes.
Eight.
It's a good job for him, actually, that Woolaston has also been a little prone to error in all departments, i.e. there.
Nine.
Well, in this instance, would have liked a little more angle on the blue to easily get the cue ball in and out of baulk.
Well, Ben Woolaston 9, Steve Davis 5.
Well, a little unlucky there to catch the yellow and going off. It was always going to be a problem to avoid all of the colours up there and come back down the table for ideal position. But of course, when you pot the blue and going off, it actually means a 10-point difference. You lose 5 points, your opponent gains 5 points. Well, potting mistakes anyone can make, but that's the kind of error you don't expect Steve Davis to commit.
One.
cue ball travelled a little too far off the initial red, forced into playing that shot and risking a little. He's had no luck there. Black on its spot, blocking his path to one red. The other one won't go because of the pink. And so Woolaston 24 ahead, 43 on, and not even in a position here where a good safety's obvious. I think all he can do is be content with containment.
Ben Woolaston, 8.
Very good from Davis, because he knew full well playing it like that the red was going to be going into the general vicinity of a pocket, and so he had to get cover behind the yellow, which he's achieved. Nicely done again from Davis. Let me tell you, the first session of the day is over on the match between Jamie Jones and Andy Hicks. Hicks was 3-1 down at the mid-session interval. Now they're leading 5-4. Now, although he's 24 points behind here, this is the kind of situation where you expect Steve Davis to become superior. So far, though, Woolaston has played 2 or 3 more than adequate safeties. Now, will he possibly contemplate the plant across the top cushion here? Maybe can't see enough of the first red to even think about that. Wonderful touch from Davis, using the yellow again for cover. That shot even better than the original. But as before, Woolaston coming up with a solution. Now, as you know, the frame was re-racked at the start. Tactical stalemate, tickling the cue ball into the pack with a red over the ball pocket. There's no way this is going to be re-racked. Woolaston wouldn't allow that with a 24-point lead and 2 reds remaining. Now that was a fine shot from Woolaston, and chipping the blue under the side cushion is a benefit to him. He's the one who's 24 points ahead. Just while we're in this protracted safety exchange, let me tell you on table 3, Rob Milkins has taken a 5-3 lead over Zhao Gudong. And Gerard Green has also moved 5-3 ahead of James Wattenaar. The yellow is Steve Davis's best friend at the moment. Woolaston has played 2 well-judged escapes from behind the yellow and left nothing on. And I think there's the third. Just to keep you right up to date with the other scores, on table 1, Udaloo is now 5-2 ahead of Matt Selt. And on table 6, Anthony Hamilton and Anthony McGill, 3-3, just at the start of frame number 7. There you can see the scoreboard in the background, the frame in progress for 33 minutes, and no sign of an immediate conclusion. There it is, 34 minutes fast approaching. One former world champion has already played in the qualifying competition and lost. Very surprisingly, after losing his status on the main tour, John Parrott decided to enter this year's World Championship. And he was whitewashed 5-0 by Northern Ireland's Patrick Wallace in the very first qualifying round. Oh, and guess what? Steve Davis has got the cue ball behind the yellow. Fourth time. Now this is more problematic for Woolaston.
Foul for a miss. Steve Davis, 4.
Foul and a miss called, 4 penalty points given away, and a red is on. Hard to imagine what kind of position he can get off the red, but of course if he pots it, there's always the possibility of laying an even more devilish snooker.
One.
Wanted to screw the cue ball in behind the red there so he could stun off the red, leave the cue ball in behind the pink and take the red down into baulk. It's not worked out that way, although the difference now is only 7 points. Davis very much back in the frame.
Steve Davis, 8.
Stephen Hendry, 7 times world champion, the only player to win the game's premier event on more occasions at the Crucible than Steve Davis. Hendry awaits either Hugh DeLue or Matt Selt, who are currently playing over on table 1, and I can tell you, Hugh DeLue, to the surprise of many, has taken a 6-2 lead over Selt. A total of 6 Chinese players still involved in the World Championship. We're down to the last 64, of course, because he's a member of the top 16. Ding is seeded to play in the championship proper, and there are 5 other Chinese players involved in qualifying still. And of course that doesn't include Hong Kong's Marco Fu. Glum. So he should be.
One.
But we said before in this frame that the yellow is Steve Davis's friend, and it remains so here.
Four. Then Woolaston, fourth.
Well, taking on the yellow to the middle pocket there was perfectly sensible in terms of position on the green. But boy, was it a tough pot.
Two.
Davis trailing by 9.
Five.
Nicely done. Make that 6 points, the deficit now, which means he needs brown, blue and pink. I have to say though, from here, unlikely. And using the rest so far today, he's been distinctly unreliable.
Nine.
One of those situations here where Woolaston leads by 2 points, but it might as well be level board because they both need blue and pink.
Steve Davis, 9.
Well, I was going to say that's a little loose, but I think little doesn't cover it. It was very loose. Mind you, good cueing required here to pot the blue and get on the pink. Outstanding cueing. Well, at least the double kiss worked in his favour in terms of leaving the cue ball well away from the blue. Almost glued to that ball cushion. Such a vital passage of the match, this. If Davis could get back to 4-3 down, match on. Or 5-2, Woolaston would be halfway towards victory. Very good from Davis.
Five.
Now, what about the pace of the cue ball? Needs quite a big bounce off the top cushion. Not big enough. He just needs the pink. Woolaston needs pink and black. Oh, I thought he knocked it in.
5.
Well, at least the pink's come away from the pocket. Let me quickly tell you, on table 3, Rob Milkins, the 147 break maker this morning, has taken a 6-3 lead over Xiao Gudong. Now Woolaston needed a thin contact there, didn't he? But that was no contact at all. Although from Davis's perspective, whether he was 3 points ahead or 9 points ahead now on the pink, it makes no difference. He still needs just that one ball. Because Woolaston made no contact, foul and a miss was called. So Steve Davis had the option there of having the cue ball replaced, asking Woolaston to play from the original position. He could have played from where the cue ball came to rest as well, could the youngster. Now is this a little steamy? When the balls run awkwardly, even though he was always a few behind, you always expected that Steve Davis might have the necessary tactical ammunition to win it, and he's certainly a favourite to do so. Clever though from Woolaston that, getting the pink near the black. Woolaston wants the black out from there, if he possibly can, in the middle of the table. He needs the two, Davis just the pink. It's the best of 19 frames, but make no mistake, this is a very tense juncture of the match. When the final result is known and we're looking back on the contest, frame 7 could be seen to be very important indeed. Oh! Lots of action on the cue ball, rattled in the jaws, so close to going in, but Davis has the chance to make it 2 frames on the trot and to get within 1. He's missed an awful lot of thin-cut, lengthy pots, thick today, Davis. That's never a good sign. At least the pink has run into a safety zone. In this kind of situation, you'd fancy him against anyone, Davis. "48 minutes. Reminiscent of the Bank of Beijing China Open final, which you might have seen here on liveworldsnooker.tv. It was a game of snooker in which Paula Ratcliffe would have enjoyed being involved. Well, was that a rush of blood? Was that a lack of patience? Woolaston tried to bring the pink off the side cushion and remove the black. Made no contact. And now Steve Davis with lots of support in this English Institute of Support arena. Well, he's back. He's back involved in the match. He hasn't played well, and at 4-1 down, I feared that he might be heavily beaten. Now, though, trailing just 4-3. I think it's Ben Woolaston who's feeling Davis's breath on the back of his neck. Well, it's been an interesting morning so far. Udaloo leads Matt Selt 6-2 over on table 1. Andy Hicks has completed his session against Jamie Jones with a 5-4 lead. Jones making 140 total clearance in that match. Hicks making a century break of his own. Rob Milkins, 147 break maker. He's taken a 6-3 lead over Zhao Gudong. There's confirmation that here on table 4, Ben Woolaston leads Steve Davis 4-3 now. At the end of their session on table 5, Gerard Green is 6-3 up on James Wattenaar. And Anthony McGill, a fine young talent from Scotland, leads another Anthony of more mature vintage, Anthony Hamilton, by 4 frames to 3. 9 frames scheduled for this first session, and all of these matches will return here tonight at 7 o'clock to finish off. Let me just tell you what's happening this afternoon. The snook starts again at 2:30 British time, that's 3:30 Central European time. Nigel Bond against Cao Yupeng begin. So do Shailesh Jogia and Igor Figueiredo from Brazil. Great run he's having so far in the event. Wouldn't it be something to have a Brazilian playing at the Crucible? The 2 matches we're going to show you here on liveworldsnooker.tv. Michael Holt from England against the 17-year-old Belgian teenager Luca Bressel. And Liang Wenbo, former runner-up in the Shanghai Masters and a former World Championship quarter-finalist. He's up against Justin Astley, who's the only non-member of the Professional World Ranking Tour still left in the championship. Astley coming through yesterday with a 10-7 victory over Malta's Tony Drago. That after beating Sam Craigie 10-9 in qualifying round 4 in a remarkable match where the last 3 frames lasted over 3 hours. Okay, then 2 frames left in the session. Ben Woolaston would love to win them both. A 6-3 lead going into tonight would be substantial. But I think right now he'd settle for winning one of them and giving himself any kind of lead going into the concluding session. And after that, could all of Davis's hard work in winning the previous frame be undone?
One.
The winner of this match, by the way, just to repeat something I told you a little earlier on, the winner goes through to play Dominic Dale, former Grand Prix and Shanghai Masters champion. And with all due respect to Dominic, based on this season's form, that's not the toughest of draws. Ken Doherty He's in the final qualifying round to take on Hamilton or McGill. Ricky Walden, formidable competitor at his best. He plays Jamie Jones or Andy Hicks. Ryan Day, classy cueist, plays Gerard Green or James Watanabe. I told you that Stephen Hendry awaits Matt Selt or Hugh DeLu. Marco Fu, former Grand Prix champion, former Premier League champion and World Championship semi-finalist, takes on Joggia or Figueiredo.
16.
And Peter Ebden, on a high after winning the China Open and beating 5 members of the current top 16 to do so. He takes on Jack Lazowski or Alfie Burden. So whether it's Burden or Lazowski who comes through there, it's going to be a tortoise versus the hare job. Could have had a much better kiss than that. Well, bridging over the yellow, that was a very difficult cut, a very fine cut, and I suppose in one respect you might say, you might be able to make a case out for the fact that the in-off wasn't the worst thing that could happen after the green had been missed. Well, he's not compromising his game, is Ben Woolaston, going for them. Such a big tournament this, both in terms of the world ranking points at stake and also the total prize money. A prize fund of £1.1 million on offer this year. Losers in this round receive £4,600. If you win, you're on a guarantee of £8,200. And if you make the Crucible, you're guaranteed at least £12,000. That's around $18,500 US. The winner of the whole shebang on May the 7th will pocket £250,000, the biggest prize in snooker. And you might think, well, what's the point of this qualifying? One of the top players is going to win the title. Now, more than likely that is the case, I have to admit. But there have been qualifiers in the past who've come through and lifted the trophy at the end. Terry Griffiths in 1979. What an inspired, emotional run that was. And more recently, in 2005, Shaun Murphy.
Ben Wilson, 7.
Well, that's a pity for Davis. The 7 penalty points, a mere irritation. But the fact he's chipped the black in, foul shot, and I think this is going to be free ball as well.
Free ball.
Indeed it is. Woolaston doesn't take advantage. Breaks of 80, 69 and 65 to lead 4-1. In the last couple of frames though, he started to look a wee bit vulnerable. But again from Davis, a misjudgment you just don't anticipate. Some of his safeties this morning have been awful by anyone's standards, let alone his.
One. Three. Four.
The session is over on table one. I can tell you, Udaloo will go into the evening session this evening with a 6-3 lead over Matt Selt, winning to play Stephen Hendry.
Woolaston 4.
And this has become error-strewn, hasn't it? Both players guilty. Had either Woolaston or Davis been up against top quality opposition in this match,
One.
they would both be losing heavily. When I say top quality opposition, I mean one of the highest ranked players in the game playing at their normal level of efficiency. But of course, whenever we see mistakes, indeed blunders, we must always build into the equation that there's an awful lot of pressure when you're trying to qualify for the World Championship.
9.
In fact, you could say there's more pressure trying to qualify than there is actually playing there.
Tough team. 40. 20. 51.
Just looking to see whether he's okay. If the blue goes to the right hand middle, which I'm sure it does, Woolaston is okay. And this for a 50-point advantage.
26. $27.
Almost there in terms of restoring his two-frame cushion, and yet the positional shot there was betwixt and between. 58 in front, Woolaston, tantalisingly, but 59 still on the table. Played for the red to the right-hand middle pocket, of that there's no doubt. Dropped short on it. So he's taking that red to top right.
And Woolaston 34.
Well, that smidgen of hope for Davis in this frame might just about to be snuffed out. There it is.
One. And Woolaston 1.
Well, 59 points the difference, 51 on the table. Davis in a snooker, but soldiering on. He won't be after this, surely. Well, it's touching ball, but I think the red goes across the top cushion. Well, it did go. Why did he hit it so hard? No brownie points for blank position there, just not the red in, and the frame is undoubtedly over.
One.
Davis's plan of attack here, or more accurately, his plan of defence,
8.
would be to pop this red, then the blue, and get the snooker in behind the blue off the last red. Has to keep that on the table because he wants the possibility of a free ball.
Nine.
Now, by potting the black, he's going to be 43 behind, 35 on. And I think he can see just about enough of the red to be able to hold the cue ball here
60.
and put Woolaston in a spot of trouble. 2 4-point penalty snookers required, and then red, black and all the colours to force a respotted black. Well, in fact, he hit too much of the red,
16.
Caught it too thin, and if he has got the snooker in behind the black, that's more by luck than judgment. Not a guaranteed hit. Well, two things that will give Davis encouragement here. One is the position of the colours for snookers, and also the position of the colours should he get the chance to clear up. The green's not ideal, even though it's close to a pocket, but apart from that, they're all in the open. Well, an escape made, but Davis could well get the cue ball nestled in behind the blue here. Trying to stun it off the top cushion to leave the cue ball in behind that line of black and blue. But Woolaston can see the last red, and I think he might be able to just pot it. No, the potting angle wasn't quite there, but took the opportunity nevertheless to chip the yellow under the ball cushion. That helps. Over on table 6, by the way, let me tell you, Anthony Hamilton and Anthony McGill locked together at 4 frames each now. They've just started frame number 9, the last of their session. Well, for the second time in this exchange, Davis gets a fluked snooker in behind the black. And also for the second time, Woolaston, no alarms in making contact. Just wondering, you know, because 2 recent frames have dragged on for quite some time, whether this might be the last of this session. They were supposed to play a full complement of 9 frames, but of course the afternoon session begins at 2:30. I think if this continues for another 5 minutes or so, more than likely play will be suspended 1 frame early. If you didn't watch the Bank of Beijing China Open final with us, you'll be astounded when I tell you this story. Peter Ebden against Steve Maguire. Ebden in the first session made a couple of excellent century breaks, but there was also a 63-minute frame, a 47-minute frame. and play was concluded with Ebden leading by 5 frames to 1 when 9 frames had been scheduled. So they had to play 13 frames maximum in the second session at night, which they did actually because it went the distance, Ebden prevailing by 10 frames to 9. And that's one of the reasons why, even though the pace of the snooker did pick up somewhat towards the end of the match, it finished quite close to 1 o'clock local time in the morning in Beijing. Well, he's had a few flukes, hasn't he, so far in this session, Ben Woolaston, and that one is going to be decisive in this frame.
Ben Woolaston 1 and 5th.
Well, Steve Davis concedes this time. Now there's no indication from referee Leo Scullion that this is going to be the closing frame of the session, so we may have one more to come. The word would come down from the tournament director, Martin Clark or Mike Ganley, that play would be suspended, but I think both players would have been told by now. I think this is a sensible solution because we don't want too late a finish this evening. And so Davis and Woolaston will play all 9 frames in this session. Woolaston at the moment leading by 5 frames to 3. Udaloo has taken a 6-3 lead over Matt Selt on table 1, the winner to play Stephen Hendry in the final qualifying round. High quality stuff between Andy Hicks and Jamie Jones. A succession of breaks there. Hicks leading 5-4. The highlight of the morning's play so far over on table 3 where Clive Everton was commentating. Rob Milkins made a 147 break. That's the second time he's done that in a World Championship qualifying competition. 6 years ago he did it in 2006 as well. His opponent then was Mark Selby. Today it's China's Xiao Guodong. Milkins looking good for progress. On table 5, Northern Ireland's Gerard Green leads James Watt in R6-3. Anthony Hamilton and Anthony McGill still battling away. 4 frames each in that contest. And very early in frame 9, McGill leading by 7 points to 6. And we've already seen an awful lot of century breaks today. Six of them, in fact. Anthony Hamilton's made 2 against McGill, 1-8 and 102. McGill replied with a 106 against him. So 3 centuries in the first 8 frames over there. On table number 6. It's been a strange mixture, that match, actually. Lots of substantial scoring, but also lots of scrappy snooker.
Why
now, how about that for a pot from Ben Woolaston? Trouble was for him, he played the shot to nothing aspect of the pot, maybe a little too good for his own good.
Ben Woolaston 1.
Nicely done though to get the cue ball in behind the green when the white is under the ball cushion like that. That kind of delicate roll-up shot behind a ball colour is never easy.
Oh, I miss. Ben Woolaston 4.
such a big frame, this. A 6-3 lead going into the concluding session would be substantial for Woolaston. At 5-4, it would be anybody's match. Coming up on this stream at 2:30, by the way, it's Liang Wenbo against Justin Astley. And on our other stream, where Clive Everton is going to be commentating, it's going to be Michael Holt against Luca Bressel, the 17-year-old Belgian. And for him, it's the most important match, without any doubt, of his short professional career so far.
Point.
Well, the second raking pot from Woolaston of the frame, and this time he gets a very beneficial kiss as well. Cutting the blue so thin though, and with the yellow off its spot like that, it's not going to be easy to weave the cue ball in and out of balk. Well, it wasn't easy, but I didn't expect him to make a full ball contact with the yellow. On several occasions in this session, Woolaston has had to take the cue ball in and out of balk and failed to do so. Collisions with yellow, brown or green responsible.
Seven.
What a pot that was! Wow! At that pace, the accuracy required, I can't tell you.
Woolaston, 7.
Well, you can't get any closer to potting a ball without doing so than that. Almost went around the rim, didn't it?
Point.
But yet another very poor shot from Davis. He'll be hating himself for this session. It's one of the worst I've seen him play for quite some time.
Good ball.
Couldn't fault his knowledge of angles there. Just a pity, I suppose, he's nudged a red close to the black.
Seven.
That's a conundrum to solve a little later. Right now, though, he's just relieved to be still at the table, still scoring in a frame he desperately needs to win.
Nine. Ten.
Apart from a 65 break in frame number 6.
15.
Davis's scoring capacity has been pretty weak so far.
$16. $21. $22.
Cue ball stopped slightly quicker than he wanted it there. The plink, though, still goes to the left-hand middle.
$28. $29. $34.
And now this has to be regarded as a position of real promise.
$35. $41.
Just forced to stretch slightly awkwardly.
$42.
Don't know whether it's my imagination, but there seems to be a whole new level of intensity in Davis's game in this frame.
48.
Created, no doubt, by the situation.
$49.
And the plink for his second half century of the session. So the lead goes to 43 points. This most
55.
straightforward of reds will leave Woolaston requiring a snooker.
56.
Well, it's in, but it's not the best positional shot. He's queuing awkwardly now over red and black. If the pink goes in, Woolaston will need 2 snookers.
Steve Davis, 62.
Not the highest break of the session for Davis, but the most meaningful.
One.
Well, Woolaston there with a little touch of side, tried to remove the red close to the black. Certainly tried to get the kiss. And now that he hasn't, more snookers will be needed. Let's assume he pots the green here. It'll be 3 snookers.
And Woolaston 1, Frame Steve Davis.
Well, he's conceded, so a session that began 4 hours ago concludes with the situation being pretty much indecisive. Hard to say who's going to win this one. Steve Davis has played a pretty poor session by his standards, and yet he's only trailing by 1 frame. I still think you have to regard him as the favourite. Woolaston looked edgy to me from start to finish. Steve Davis 4, Woolaston 5. Okay, so only half an hour off now, really, from action here on liveworldsnooker.tv, because this afternoon, 2 more matches coming your way. Over on stream number 1, it's Michael Holt against Luca Bressel, the 17-year-old Belgian teenager with bags of talent. And on this stream, on table 4, it's going to be Liang Wenbo, former Shanghai Masters runner-up and World Championship quarter-finalist, up against one of the surprise packages of the World Championship qualifying competition of 2012 so far, Justin Astley, who hasn't got main tour status. One final thing to tell you before I go. It looks as though Anthony Hamilton is going to take a 5-4 lead over Anthony McGill, and in fact, as I speak, that is confirmed. Over on table 6, Hamilton, who's made a couple of century breaks this morning, leads Anthony McGill by 5 frames.